Hi, good evening, everyone. I call the Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 Peninsula School District Board of Directors meeting to order. All board directors are present. Thankfully, everyone made it home on the same flight today, so we can have a meeting. My quorum is here. Would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Is there any discussion on the agenda prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved by David and seconded by Jennifer to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried and the agenda is approved. We have one report this evening. It's for our Career and Technical Education Department. We've got our director, Kelsey Park, here to present for us.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. I'm super excited to be giving this presentation on the current status of our career technical education programs in Peninsula School District. I'm a little short of breath, just so I apologize in advance if I'm taking many pauses, but I was told I get 10 minutes roughly, so that's my goal. John is going to be clocking me so that I can stay in line with that, okay? Are you ready? Okay, excellent. So if you take away one thing from me today in our presentation, I want you to take away that CTE is about career readiness. For many years, CTE was Voc Tech, or a program that students would go to if they weren't quite being successful in a traditional comprehensive high school. That's not the case anymore. CTE is about equipping all of our students with their career and college readiness when they leave our programs. So we in CTE have specific sets of data that we have to meet. So similar to the high school or the programs across the state, we've set goals for each of the high schools on graduation rate and academic excellence. CTE has its own set of compliance standards that we have to meet. And so we do that by meeting CTE completer data. And so on the slide, and you have this in your packets, is a lot of information on how it's determined, but basically what you need to know is that when a student completes 2 credits in CTE sequence, they are considered a CTE completer and we count them in data. And right now, 54% of our students who graduate across the stage are CTE completers. So we get really more in-depth look at how our students are performing and succeeding by looking at our CTE data on students. In CTE, we create career readiness by creating strong pathways to graduation. Right now, we have 6 different program areas that we support, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in that later. But one of our requirements from the state is to meet a certain CTE completer graduation rate. And when you look at our CTE completers, they performed at a 95% graduation rate in the 2023 year. So we know that students who engage in a 2-credit sequence with CTE are graduating at a higher percentage than just across all of our regular graduation rates. Oops, sorry. Great. We prepare students with career readiness by giving them alternate options to consider in their classwork. So we offer things called equivalency credits, where a student can take a class, for example, biomedical sciences, and that class can count as a CTE graduation and a 1.0 lab science requirement. Students can check the box on their graduation requirements in 2 areas and apply that credit into one that meets their graduation pathways the most. So we're really trying to build in flexibility to remove barriers for students so that they can have more access to the programs that meet their future college career readiness goals. We also are working to prepare students for career readiness by giving them strong math and ELA scores. This is our SBA scores for our CTE completers again. You can see the trend data on the left is our reading scores and on the right is our math scores. One of the things that we are especially looking towards is improving those math scores by making sure that our CTE credit equivalency teachers that offer math courses are involved in the math adoption and the next steps in reevaluating our math curriculum coming forward. So we know that we have work to do in those areas. And so part of this is really looking at what are we teaching and how are we really offering equivalencies that show students are accelerating in reading and math. We also know that career readiness is directly related to that learning environment, and we have 3 different standards that we believe kind of address that learning environment in CTE. The first one is on the non-trad program enrollment. So the state asks us to track and try and increase non-traditional enrollment in programs. So females in computer science or males in health sciences and nursing programs. One of our goals across the state is to create more equity in that range for students. One of the other areas is looking at what they've attained in post-secondary credentials, so industry recognized certifications when they leave our programs, as well as dual credits. And the very last bottom one you'll see is our dual credit performance, where for 2 of those years, we scored 100% of our CTE completers walked away with the dual credits that they could have been awarded. And so this year's focus has really been about increasing the number of CTE completers as well as those post-secondary credentials for them. We know that leadership opportunities also increase career readiness for our students. Part of the CTE requirements from the state is that students are involved in what are called CTSOs, or Career Technical Student Organizations. And you've heard other board reports where they've talked about the importance of having after-school clubs. Well, those are also CTE clubs. So HOSA, DECA, FCCLA, Skills USA, as well as WCTSMA, which is our sports medicine sports club, and GECO are all part of those after-school programs directly related to CTE programming that help advance our students in getting them prepared for career readiness. This year, we've also embarked on a new update of getting our students up to date with high school and beyond planning. So have any of you seen on social media or gotten a parent square about School Links rollout coming? We are moving our registration for 8th through 12th grade, or I guess 11th grade, into School Links. School Links is the new state approved program for high school and beyond plan. They are asking us to roll out in 2025 full compliance and use of School Links, and we've decided to be early adopters in this to give our students and families time to be able to adapt the shift from Naviance to School Links. So high school beyond planning requires students to have a 4-year plan of how they are going to graduate and what their post-secondary plans are. We have to ensure that all students have that documented. They also have to have a resume. They also have to track any volunteer and any extracurricular activities in there. And it all needs to be tied directly to what they're planning on doing after they graduate high school. So we're super excited about getting this up and going. We have a training tomorrow for a lot of our staff, and then registration is going to begin on February 10th for our 8th through 12th graders. And then next year, all incoming 6th through 11th grade will do registration through there. And 7th graders will really start with that 4-year planning in here. Yeah, Jennifer.
Do you know, does this, I haven't looked beyond the social media posts on this. Does this have components for parents to help us when we're trying to sort out?
Yeah. Actually, it has a whole guardian access point. So guardians get their own account tied with the student, and the student actually gets an alumni status after they graduate, so they can continue to use it as building their resume or portfolio for programs. But what's really nice about this is that we can build in sequencing options in the course planner, so we can show what might be a traditional path for students, where are the accelerated courses. We did build out a biomedical pathway in there so that students could say, hey, if I'm interested in health sciences, it actually, when students first get in the onboarding, they have to choose a program area or a career cluster to be able to submit their course registrations. So we're really asking students and families to think future forward and future planning before they even start to select their classes this year, which is going to be a big shift from just thinking about 1 year at a time. But in the long run, what that's going to do for us is be able to show us exactly what students are interested in, where they're planning on going, and be able to inform the programming that we have, especially in CTE, to meet the true needs of our students and their future careers. Yeah. Did you start it again? All right, so I spoke a little bit about our program areas. These are our 6 program areas, so I want to highlight some of the achievements that we've had in each of those areas this year, and kind of talk about some of those celebrations, which celebrating our students and the work that they're doing is also about preparing them for that career readiness. So in agriculture, we have one program right now that feeds into agriculture, which is our AP Environmental Science class. AP Environmental Science is a CTE class. It has an 81% pass rate on the AP exam, which is fantastic. And the Gecko Club is actually spearheading a lot of the conservation efforts at Gig Harbor High School. They ended up collecting not a ton, but over 614 pounds of items off of campus. They do a monthly cleanup. It's open for any students to come and join. But you'll see on all of these slides, I've included credit equivalencies. So when it's been, no, I don't know if there's a pointer on that. Where there's a credit equivalency, so what does the credit equivalency count for? So again, AP Environmental Science counts as a CTE course and a lab science course. How many college credits are offered in each of our CTE courses? Again, that is one of our state measurements that we need to match. And then what are the industry certifications that we're offering in each of those? So you can see those in kind of the chart over here on the side for each of the slides. So agriculture. Shout out to Dina Berkey at Gig Harbor High School, who is leading this and is just doing fantastic work. So nice job, Dina. All right, business and marketing. So business and marketing, we have quite a few classes for students to take there. We look at the career clusters that are tied to business and marketing as business management and entrepreneurship, marketing, as well as information technology. So what you might not know is that some of our computer science classes fall underneath business and marketing. College and career and financial education this year, we are on our 5-year course approval. Every year we have to go, one of our programs gets through a reapproval process with OSPI, and this year is business and marketing. And so we've sent out a feedback form. We are currently going through a curriculum review for CCFE, looking at how we're building in our transfer VR headsets into career exploration opportunities for students in that class, as well as exploring EverFi financial literacy curriculum. One half of this whole class, so 45 hours technically, is about financial literacy. We want to make sure that students are well prepared for that when they leave. We also want to get feedback from our families and communities on how effective these classes have been at meeting our learning standards. So those have been sent out to get feedback, and we'll be sending those out again in the spring. I also want to shout out to Kevin Davis and Gary Griffin and our DECA students. We had 90 students, almost 90 students go to our regional competition for DECA, and we have 30 that are now going on to state, which is a huge number. So shout out to all of our business and marketing students and their advisors for really getting them prepared for that competition, and they're going to represent us great at state. All right, family and consumer sciences. So family and consumer sciences is inclusive of health as well. And you're going to see CCFE on every one of these slides. CCFE, because it is considered in all of the pathways, can be counted in any of these pathways for students as they build their graduation 2 credit sequences. So Family and Consumer Sciences has certified over 275 students in CPR first aid this year so far. FCCLA is now active at both Gig Harbor High School and Peninsula High School. And a huge shout out goes to Lexi, Dom, and Rebecca. They are brand new into these positions this year and have just jumped in. I know that there's like every other week there's baking. They had brownies at Gig Harbor High School. Lexi features her students constantly in their newsletter and sends out pictures of them making pasta and all of the great things happening there. So our Henderson Bay Community Leadership Pop-Up Shop just wrapped up. Emily, big shout out to her for getting all of that clothing and really expanding this project in the past few years. And we were awarded a $50,000 grant to create a makerspace at Henderson Bay for this upcoming year, to be able to look at how all of our programs are blending together so that we can think innovatively for what students are going to be encountering and making in their futures. So FCCLA is really growing beyond just culinary arts. We're really excited about what that's going to bring for us in the future.
Kelsey, where'd that grant come from? That's
Ashley and I are chasing grants. This one we actually was from our Perkins federal grant. We've allocated towards this, and you'll see we have some other grant awards that are in there, and we have some more that we're currently working on. But we want to remove barriers for kids, and so that's kind of the goal of chasing after grants for us. Yeah. Thank you. Health sciences. So one of the things I'm really the most excited about with health sciences is COPE Health Scholars, which we started up in this summertime and is currently running. And they actually have an opening for students to be able to go and work in Japan as part of their partnership. So COPE Health Scholars is at Multicare at Tacoma General Hospital. Students literally earn credit by working rotations on each floor at Tacoma General and getting trained and certified. They earn a certificate when they walk away from there. So they get hands-on on-site learning. It's typically about $600 per student to go through this program. And because we were awarded a $96,000 grant for expanding our Healthways programs, we can cover that cost for every student who's interested in going into there. So we want to build out that program for students to be able to have access to what feeds their need. We think that this perfectly aligns with our PLTW biomedical pathway, and are excited to continue to grow that. We also just secured a partnership with NASM, which is, I don't know the full National Association of Sports Medicine. Is that right? Okay, great. Which is for our sports medicine classes. And literally when students now finish, there was a question I had gotten on social media about, well, haven't we always had sports medicine? And the answer is we've had sports medicine, but now when a student actually leaves sports medicine, they will have a personal trainer certificate and are able to be employed by people and actually do personal training and support. So students starting at the age of 16 in our programs can do that. They can work at games, they can work at pro sport, they can shadow. So we are trying to build out those actual career readiness opportunities. And this is a really big area where we're expanding and growing and excited to see what happens next year.
Do they have to take any preliminary courses or to prepare them to go in and start doing that job shadow stuff?
No, not for any of, not for the COPE Scholars or the sports medicine certification. There is some like tuberculosis testing that you have to have completed and some of those medical requirements for the COPE one, but not for the sports medicine one, no. Yeah. All right, skilled and technical sciences. So skilled and technical sciences is also multifaceted in the career clusters that it encompasses. It encompasses our traditional manufacturing and trades programs, but it also includes some of our like skills trade is really about the technical skill around one of the arts programs. So when you're looking at theater and technical design there, as well as digital photography and videography. So it's expansive of more than just manufacturing in our total skills trades program. Our middle school CTE team, I wanted to shout them out. They have been highly collaborative in the manufacturing specific group and CAD to start growing their programs. And so we are really excited to start from that middle school up to build stronger programs at our high school levels. Right now, across Washington State, 2% of students across the state are enrolled in manufacturing classes. And in Peninsula School District, we're about 20% of students are enrolled in manufacturing classes. So we are above where the state is with preparing students in skills trade in that manufacturing pre-apprenticeship kind of area. We also have expanded theater design in this upcoming year to be inclusive of acting in there, acting in the technical theater, which is going to help expand CTE pathways and CTE completers for students. So again, we're removing barriers so that we can create more access to that graduation pathway. And I'm very excited to announce that NJROTC is planning to be marching in the National Memorial Day Parade in Washington, D.C. That's not new news, but it is very newsworthy to be sharing that. So thank you, Stockton, for bringing that opportunity to our families and to our students for this. All right, and now I'd like to call up Ashley Stolhan to give some updates on our STEM pathway and the Aviation Academy.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelsey. I am really excited to bring you some updates on the Aviation Academy. The first is that with the Museum of Flight, we've submitted our frameworks to the state. These are key documents around our curriculum so that the classes can be run. The second is that we, as of today, have an articulation agreement with Green River College. What that means is that a student who completes 2 years in the Aviation Academy will earn 60 college credits. 60. In those 2 years. So we are pretty excited about that. Those are in aeronautical sciences. We know that it's going to set students up in a just wonderful way to walk out of the academy with their private pilot ground school, with their drone certification, and with 60 college credits. The big announcements in terms of dates are that the student lottery opens up March 1st. So if you have students who you know are interested, incoming juniors, incoming seniors, we'd love to have them sign up for the lottery. And then we've also had a couple of grants come in for the Aviation Academy. As Kelsey understated, we are aggressively going after grants in CTE. Lastly, there are 2 save the dates up here. The first is for our next general advisory meeting. That's where we'll be going over ways that community members can be involved in the Aviation Academy, things like mentorship, partnerships, guest speakers. We know that we're going to need lots of help from professionals and experts in the community. And then the second is February 27th, which is a student and family info night. We're really grateful that the Vintage Aero Museum here in Gig Harbor is going to be hosting that. It's a great way just to showcase that partnership and be right there at the hangar.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
For the student lottery,
Yeah.
how many students are you going to be accepting? And is it similar to what we're doing at Pioneer as far as the lottery for that school?
It's a similar setup in Power School. We'll be accepting 32 students. That's all we have space for. But we are hoping to have the problem of having too many students apply and then having to deal with that. But it is a true lottery and not an application.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I just wanted to end and make sure that you understood that we are really focused on that career readiness, removing barriers for students, giving them the opportunity to exceed our expectations and to really grow to where they want to go. So I included up here just a little bit of information prior to coming up here today. Actually, last week when I submitted this to Jenny in end of January, we had this was our total number of certifications. We've had over 43 actual certs that students can earn. And we had 168 students by the end of first semester actually earn those certifications. And those certifications can range from $20 to $500 that a student would have to pay independently when they go out. So we have saved so far, our families, over $5,000 in savings for preparedness for post-secondary planning. And we have currently over 236 college credited classes options for students through Bates, Pierce, and Clover Park Technical College that students can gain for free just by taking our CTE program and our CTE classes. And as a total, we've secured $208,000 in grant funding total for CTE this year. So any questions? Also, what was my time? Oh, okay.
No, we asked you questions, so that
Yeah.
Okay, well, I know it's
Comments, questions, anyone? Put your green light on though.
So, I guess, what does the future hold? And I say that in, we have a radio station that's not being used. And I don't know if you've been up to see Mercer Island High School and what they've done there. Fabulous. What they've done with the radio station, teaching podcasting, things in the future too. So
yeah.
I say that I recognize that some of that we're looking at radio stations and going, that's antiquated, but the skills that are learned, just speaking, writing script, stuff there. Are we going anywhere with that?
And Chris, I don't know if you've shared out the information that you have on the radio station yet. No, we don't have any information to share out yet on the current status of the radio station. But there is an exciting opportunity that we are currently finalizing, I guess. Okay. But the primary job that I have is to be looking at our school links data, what students are saying that they're interested in, and looking at labor and market data and comparing where students are going to be in the next 5 to 10 years and preparing our courses and our programming to meet the needs of those students. And so, there's a lot of pieces at play to determine what our future looks like for CTE. I don't have a 5-year plan quite yet of what that looks like, because my first primary goal here was really to remove some barriers that we've had in place, that students aren't getting access to certain things. And so as we've finished cleaning that up and setting some systems into place that are really going to be supportive for our students, we're going to be able to work as a team and a community to determine what those next steps are for our future programming.
Dare I ask?
Oh,
about
gosh.
welding? The welding metal shop, are we going anywhere with that?
So, what I shared in August was that we have invested in our VR programming to be able to offer welding certification and skill practice in an environment where we can't physically do the welding because of facilities right now. And so students have that access in an opportunity in our pre-skilled apprenticeship program to be able to explore and to practice those skills. We also have a partnership with West Sound Tech where students can actually get certified in that welding and HVAC systems if they would prefer that route rather than being in the skilled and getting that exploratory.
I'm really hoping that at some point we have a full-on facility where we can offer a lot of these classes in-house. And I say that because my boys went through the high school and attempted to go to Bates and West Sound. It took a lot out of them to go there on a daily basis to get that.
Yeah.
Fender benders, cars, just all kinds of obstacles got in the way of going that distance. It's a long ways to go for us.
Yeah.
So I think we need a skills center nearby.
I think I'm really excited about our aviation program and the shifting of hours, right?
Yeah.
And being able to start envisioning flexibility and offerings for students in a more innovative way, right? Because I think that will also alleviate some of those stressors that we find that students are leaving us for, right? So as we continue to look at those challenges that our students are facing, it's really my goal to think creatively about how to remove those barriers.
And I applaud you all.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
So I in no way want to discredit anything you've done.
Thank you.
Just want to push you to do more.
I hear you. I hear you. Received.
Turn off your mic now. I'll go next.
Okay.
Last year, when I was traveling the state to meet, I met with a lot of industry leaders in labor. And one of the things they said was not enough school districts in the state are properly preparing or doing workforce development. We are definitely not one of those. I mean, I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. One of the things they said, and this is a piggyback off what Chuck said, was that when you do virtual training, like I've been to Bates and done the virtual welding at the Bates, and as a former Navy underwater welder, doing it virtually is not the same as touching that rod.
No doubt.
To the metal.
No
It's just
doubt.
not the same. But that's what the folks around, the industry folks said too.
Yeah.
Virtual is sort of gives them a idea what it's like, but if they don't actually have the piece of gear to work on, on the engine or the welding machine or whatever it might be, it's just not the same. So I know this board is really into all this stuff, so I know we're on the right track, but I'm just saying it would be nice to have that opportunity for them.
Yeah, and again, like we said back in August, those are not meant to replace. They are meant to provide access to students who might have a disability or might not speak English as their primary language, to be able to give a coach right there as they practice through skills before they step up to the plate, metaphorically, I guess, where safety is a concern. Right, so building in that skill set, building in that practice, giving them that drill and kill and getting used to those steps is the real primary goal of that as a tool to support their learning, not a replacement.
thank you for all that info.
no problem.
I'm really excited about all this. At what grade are PSD students first introduced to some of these options?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm thinking more of things that would happen in the classroom, like that wouldn't be optional, like you can go to the career fair. But like, is there a time in any grade when all students are informed of like, here's things you could consider, and when is that?
So students, it's a good question. Students start getting access in Washington State. It's considered 7th and 8th grade. So if you ever are with a lobbyist and you're like, hey, 6th grade should be inclusive in that, please advocate for 6th grade to be also included in that, because there's a funding barrier there as well, right? But in 7th grade, what you see on this screen I brought us, these are the pre-pathways classes that are considered under CTE that students get exposure to starting in 7th and 8th grade. And in 6th grade, most of our middle schools do a STEM rotation, which isn't technically CTE, but gives kind of a taste of what they are looking forward to. We're also really hoping that with school links being so transparent, that students starting in 7th grade can now say, hey, I really enjoyed that medical detectives class that I took with Mr. Ernst. Like, what could I take next? I can look ahead rather than 1 year at a time course registration and see what my true pathway could be to lead to that career. So that exposure is going to come fast right now, but that will also help us kind of backward plan, similar to the middle school manufacturing, of where do we need to fill in some gaps, where do we need to build more exposure to be able to strengthen our high school programs.
Awesome, thanks. So
Yeah.
I have long maintained that there are tons of high-paying careers that don't require going to college.
Yeah.
That I think just students don't know of them because they maybe don't know anyone who does that.
Yeah.
Even something as that, my best example is just because it's a common thing, is lots of companies can't get truck drivers, and it pays like construction companies and that kind of stuff. It pays a lot at high hourly wage, and I just feel like, do all students know, at some point, could we just, do presentations in a younger grade, like even 5th grade, or, before you're getting to those decision-making registering points, so that they can keep their driving record clean once they turn 16, and some of those, make choices maybe toward things that could be career-oriented. So.
Yeah. I'd be happy to do a School Links presentation with the board separately. Just the program has real life people answering students' questions in it, like videos of the students saying a question, and then the people from industry and from colleges and from admissions giving answers and giving them kind of this live feed of being able to explore and get feedback. That feedback loop is so important, just like you're saying. They don't know until they know, right? So, yeah. Yeah, Jennifer.
Just, related to what you just said, Lori, I admittedly, I struggle a little bit with the, maybe it's just the language of starting to plan your career in 7th grade. Right? And because I think about the fact, like, I hold a CDL and I drove with a passenger endorsement and all of this stuff. And it wasn't that was I set my career out to. It was that I was still exploring and I wanted a job that had higher pay and things like that. So this is just a wondering because, with personally, the idea anytime to have a conversation at the middle school level with what do you want to do for your future, one seems like a non-starter, and two, it doesn't really track with how people work anymore, right? Like what 3-4 careers is now standard versus how it used to be you had one. Yeah. So anyway, it's just kind of a wondering around how we approach that. Maybe more about look at these are options for jobs that can be high paying and de-emphasizing it's necessarily your and fun. Oh, absolutely. And make some better money at it. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a rambling, but I'm wondering about the clubs, the CTSO clubs. So I had never heard of these until I had family that are now participating in DECA and TSA, and I am blown away by those opportunities. And I was really happy to see that the stat of how many of our students are going on to state, because that's a piece I think maybe is not known as well, maybe by students, that these companion pieces of these clubs huge, I mean, that's cash money, like big prizes and
Yeah.
big exposure and
Yeah.
trips all over the place.
Yeah.
So is there a way that those link into class links so you can kind of,
Yeah, they'll be able to track all of their activities that they do in here into school links as well. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
It's in the course catalog also. So I think another environmental course will also recommend.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I thank you for this slide
Yeah.
in particular.
No
because
problem.
now it kind of puts it all into a much more clear context of what they are and why they exist.
Well, and clear as mud in some ways, right? Because CTE, it's been so long, like here's the silo of CTE. But really, when we break it apart and we look at all of the measurements and we look at how broad of an impact it really has, CTE is kind of, it's much more spread than we actually think, right? So, yeah.
Any other questions? No, I just will end with a comment that I am so blown away by this. I think you have led such a dynamic and amazing effort for all of the activities that our kids are interested in. So
Yeah.
I think you and Ashley have hit the sweet spot on, like you said, like what are the skills our kids need? What's the future workforce looking like? But really, I have seen things in here. Of course, the Aviation Academy. I mean, that is, I'm so excited. But the theater set design, I can remember 5 or 6 years ago when we would hear, there's no job market for that, so we're not going to focus on it. But there is such a passion for it here.
And it's
so
absolutely tied
important.
into like that hand skilled trade
Yes,
aspect
absolutely.
and what we've really done in that specifically that speaks to my heart in this is broken it out into the construction set design aspect and then the lighting and sound, because that's a true like refining art there, and then the acting portion. So we're really hitting all the different aspects of that also have that transferable skills, right? So we can go deeper with our knowledge set and be more rigorous and intentional about what kids are learning. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I have a kid who just realized that he earned a certificate in jewelry making, and he will probably never make it, use that as a career. However, he has a friend who loves making jewelry. She has already stated this is what she wants to do, design. She has an Etsy shop, and having that certificate really matters
Yeah.
to her. It's a big deal, and it's something that she uses to bolster her already growing business.
That's
and it gives her some
fantastic.
validation. So
That's great.
very, very cool. This is just so well done. I think that I am confident we're on the right track. So
Great.
thank you both, and for chasing down the money, because the money is a barrier. And I appreciate you both so much for saying that's not going to stop us.
No.
Well done. Thank you.
I wanted to add on something.
Of course.
Set design and stuff. Nick Yanity graduated from Peninsula High School, I want to say around 99.
92.
Approximately.
Yeah,
What's the name?
Nick Yanity. He just sold his company that did set for all the musicians and stuff coming around. He got $2 million for that company that he built
Wow.
doing that. And I don't know all the details of it. You know, Nick, he built that from scratch, that company, just setting up, doing DJ work, and then they just built and built and built. And there's a lot of that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys that were around my time.
Yeah.
Rick Olson just sold Pyro. He shot for Evel Knievel and all that stuff. He did all the pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
Again, millions of dollars. All the little entrepreneurial things that we can do in our little niches.
Which entrepreneurship is a class that's going to be offered at all of the high schools next year. So, yep. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, item 4 on the agenda is comments from the community on agenda items. We don't have anyone speaking on an agenda, so we'll roll to our consent agenda. Is there any discussion prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
It's been moved by Chuck and seconded by Lori. It is hard to say seconded. Sorry, I feel like I trip over that every time. Seconded by Lori to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried, and the consent agenda has been approved. Item 6 this evening are our action items. So we have several second reads, which, as you know, second read is an approval of a policy. So item 6.1 is the approval of the second reading of policy 5510, retirement programs. Is there any discussion to the approval of the second reading of 5510? Is there a motion to approve the second reading of policy 5510 on retirement programs? Is there a second? Okay, I'm gonna have to say it a bunch. Is it been moved by Jennifer and seconded by Chuck to approve the second read of 5510? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried, and the second reading has been approved. Item 6.2 is the approval of the second reading of policy 5407 on military leaves. Is there any discussion on the approval of the second reading, 5407? Is there a motion to approve the second reading of policy 5407? Is there a second? It's been moved by David and seconded by Lori to approve the second read of 5407. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried, and the second read of policy 5407 on military leave has been approved. Items 6.3 through 6.11 are all first readings, so I will call them all out, and then I'll ask for discussion, I guess, afterwards, if there's anyone. So item 6.3 is policy 4120, school support organizations. Item 6, well, let's just go one at a time. Any discussion on that? Item 6.4 is the first read of policy 5615. It's being renumbered to 5281 on disciplinary action and discharge. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. Item 6.5 is the review of first read of policy 5605, being renumbered to 5006 on certification revocation. Is there any discussion on this first read? Item 6.5 is a review of first reading of policy 3510 on associated student bodies. Any discussion?
That's item 6.6.
Well, 6.6, sorry. 6.6 is the first read of policy 3510.
No discussion.
No discussion. Thank you for that. Item 6.7, review of the first read of policy 2414 on community service. Is there any discussion? Okay. Item 6.8 is the first reading of policy 5110, being renumbered to 5020 on collective bargaining. Is there any discussion on the review of this first reading? Item 6.9 is the review of the first reading of policy 3205, sexual harassment of students prohibited. Is there any discussion on the review of this first read? Item 6.10, review of the first read of policy 5011, sexual harassment of district staff prohibited. Is there any discussion of this first read? And lastly, item 6.11, review of the first read of policy 5610, being renumbered to 5280, separation from employment. Is there any discussion on the review of the first read of policy 5610 to 5280? Great. Okay, those will all be on the agenda at our next meeting for consideration of the second read and approval. Item 7 on our agenda this evening is comments from the community on non-agenda items. We do have a couple of people signed up to speak this evening, so when I call your name, please come to the podium, state your first and last name again, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board. We'll have a timer here for your keeping time, and if for some reason you run out of time, I will stop you at 3 minutes, but anything that isn't said in those 3 minutes, you can always email the board. First up this evening is Michael Perot.
Thank you, Michael Perot. I'm with the Gig Harbor Peninsula Youth Sports Coalition. Last spring, the new facility use agreement between the school district and Penn Met Parks was promoted as a win-win, a better way to utilize resources for the benefit of the community. Now, nearly a year later, I'm here to share with how some things have unfolded. As you know, this agreement gives both parties free access and priority and free access to each other's facilities when not in use by the owner. Penn Met basketball programs are currently using 10 gyms, while the district has access to Penn Met synthetic turf fields for baseball and soccer. On the surface, this sounds like a success, but unfortunately, the reality is a little more complicated. First, the school district's use of Penn Met fields is because the district's own fields don't meet the standards required by its own programs. This cuts into the already limited field time for youth sports programs. Meanwhile, the district isn't doing anything to upgrade its own fields. So it begs the question, what has the community really gained? Second, is how PenMet treats residents of the Peninsula School District when it comes to registering for their programs. Under their current policy, families from the Key Peninsula and most of the city of Gig Harbor are prohibited from registering for programs until a week after enrollment opens. And then, if there are spots remaining, they face a 20% out-of-district penalty surcharge when they register for their programs. I'm not here to challenge the legality or the merits of PenMet's policy. It's legal, and they have the reasons for doing so. Rather, I'm here to express it's not acceptable for the school district to grant PenMet priority and free use of school facilities, while PenMet doesn't treat all in the school district, all the residents equally. The impact of the policy is clear. Kids living in the school district but outside PenMet's smaller boundary are often excluded from programs or penalized simply because of where they live. The only boundary that should matter under this agreement is that of the school district. However, it is ironic that 5 of the schools PenMet uses for basketball are located inside the city of Gig Harbor, yet their policy treats city residents as second class. Allowing PenMet special privileges while they exclude and penalize some within the school district based on which side of a line they live on is not acceptable. I don't believe this policy was intended or known by the school board when the agreement was made, but now that you're aware, please immediately act, notify PenMet that moving forward, all Peninsula School District residents, including those from the Key Peninsula and the city of Gig Harbor, must be treated equally in their programs if they expect to receive priority use of district facilities at no cost. Thanks for your service.
Next, we have Doug Erner.
Hi, my name's Doug Erner, and I'm the proud parent of a trans woman and a Gig Harbor High School graduate. Last summer, she completed her master's in computer science at the University of St. Andrews. Today, she's working as a software engineer at an electric intercity bus startup in Scotland. As a teacher and a parent, I know the difference it makes in the lives of trans students when they are seen as their authentic selves. The last election cycle was marred by a litany of cruel, uninformed, and just simply wrong attacks on trans folks, particularly trans women and children. And then since his inauguration, President Trump has continued the attacks on the trans community, issuing executive orders aimed at denying trans children access to gender-affirming care, to safe and affirming education, and even simply to a place to go to the bathroom. These executive orders are terrifying to trans students and their parents. They are immoral and they lack the force of law. They also contravene the protections afforded by our state laws and our Constitution. In addition, they're in direct opposition to the district's non-discrimination policy and the board's policy 3211 on gender-inclusive schools. Many districts throughout the country have spoken up in defense of their trans students and their staff. These statements mean the world to the trans students and their families in those districts. I urge you to do the same, to speak up for your trans students, to speak up for the staff that supports them. Those statements may literally be life-saving. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Carol Rivera.
Good evening. I'm Carol Rivera, Peninsula Education Association President. As previously mentioned, I just wanted to make sure that we addressed and shared a lot of the concerns that educators are having for our students, and specifically all the attacks that are very clearly being made on public education as an entity. We work very hard to serve all of our students, specifically those regardless of race, color, caste, or sex, also religion. As previous mentioned, we do have District Policy 3205, sex discrimination and sex-based harassment of students prohibited. So we just wanted to make sure that that is known to people so that students in our schools do not feel that they are being violated or treated differently. The second piece I wanted to make sure that we understood or shared with you is that our staff have concerns about being able to do their job based on a lot of the articles that have come up as executive orders. They will continue to do their job as required by our state and our district, and we just also hope that the district helps us create that safe space where we can serve all students. Wanted to talk further about policy 4310, which is the district relationship with law enforcement and other governmental agencies. And so the work of the immigration agents does not overlap with the work or duties of the district. This is because the district's obligation to educate children residing within its borders is not diminished by children or parents' immigration status. So all of these things worry educators, but again, the students, we're here for them, and their concerns and their needs are really important. And finally, I know that you are spending a lot of time advocating for funding and different sources. And so I know that we also have talked a lot about the limited amount of funds that we do receive from the federal government, and maybe have some proactive conversations about what to do if they were to disappear. So we will have required responsibilities for special education, and those won't end even if that funding does. So we just want to make sure that we are partners in finding, taking care of all of these pieces so that we can serve every single child that resides in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes comments from the community. And item 8 on the agenda is superintendent's report.
All right, well, thank you. So earlier there was a question or a suggestion about having a discussion and defining what NAEP overview was. So at this time, I would like to have James and John. John, would you like to go up? Come on, John. Go on up. You can blame Jenny. You put your name. Oh, okay. And or.
You can blame me, I asked, sorry. I'll confess.
So you want to start, John? Oh, okay, all right. So a few short days ago, the NAEP, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, results from 2024 were just released. And you've got a quick little 2-page kind of summary of that. But since the last several decades, the U.S. Department of Education has administered NAEP testing across the country. And it started out as a paper pencil test, as all tests were a few decades ago. And then they have moved it to digital. It's really interesting to kind of get around the fact that different students in different parts of the country might be using different devices. There are literally specific devices that they come and they bring into schools, and kids take the test on those, and then the device goes away. It's not like state tests. So it's not like the Smarter Balance tests within Washington or anybody else's tests anywhere else. These are tests that change very slowly over time. They're not very closely connected to our current standards. I mean, they're still reading, it's still math, right? But the specific grade levels of things are not kind of consistent over time. And each state is given the task of coming up with what's a sampling method that they're going to use, working with the federal government to identify a representative sample of the state as a whole. So in Washington, they'll reach out to districts and they'll tell us, you've got these schools have been designated, we're going to come and sample. It's typically 25 to 30 students. And what they're trying to do is not necessarily look at what is Peninsula School District like, but making sure that they have some students from different districts that are representing the state as a whole. In the 2024 NAEP cycle, we did have one school identified for 4th grade testing. That was Pioneer. We didn't have any students tested at middle school last year. That's fairly common with a school district our size, that you'll get hit some grades some years and not others. So unfortunately, that means that NAEP results don't really tell us anything about Peninsula School District students as a whole. They tell us about the state of Washington. And Washington in the scheme of things, has fairly boring results. So they're not statistically significantly different from the nation as a whole in 4th or 8th grade reading or math. That's bad news because in general, the country is doing a little bit worse over time. We have not seen on NAEP a recovery coming out of the pandemic. It's important to think about too that downward trend that lots of folks want to talk about. That actually started back in 2013. So the downward trend in NAEP scores certainly accelerated with the pandemic, but it was already there. There had been a pretty steady increase in scores up until then, and then something changed. Certainly, like Jonathan Haidt with Anxious Generation would make a point about a very specific change that happened that may have led to that, but that's certainly a hot topic in education research right now. Yeah, well.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I would just add, for the sake of saying something, to reiterate what James said, very small sample size, one school, just not very actionable or meaningful for us as a district. Like James said, more at a national level gives a sample, but for us to act on that data, it's not.
There are
not
some
something.
districts that do get actionable data. So a real extreme example, Clark County in Nevada, they do get district level data because their district represents 65% of the students who are in the state of Nevada. So they get a report just for their district, and some other large districts, LA Unified, New York Public, they end up getting those because they're so big they have to be sampled, but that's not true of any district in Washington.
Thank you. All right. We have been together for a little while, this team. We recently had the incredible opportunity to present at the AI Super Summit 1.0 in Tampa Bay that we were invited to last week. And the Peninsula School District administrative team was able to go. And we had a fantastic experience. We had the opportunity to present with Noel, who is the government lobbyist for AASA, really discussing, and Chris, we should be really good at this because we did it today as well, this presentation, really about our journey through AI, how we got to it. We even told the story about Buddha, Norway, about the metaverse, and all the way to, well, I'm going to say that a little bit later, but we have a new website, an AI website, and really powerful discussions. I cannot underscore enough, or overscore, overscore, whichever, underline. We really have dedicated teachers and staff here that have really leaned into learning as much as they could together. It's really an opportunity to highlight many of our teachers. So there's several snippets in our presentation, but really every time we do this presentation, so it's been 3 times, I really get choked up about the reasons why our staff have leaned in, because they want students to be able to present and understand in their own language if they don't speak English. We had a principal that really wanted to use, is it HeyGen program, so that she, as she's out getting treatment for cancer, that she can communicate with her staff and still have her avatar being healthy. Those are stories that we have been communicating with others, and it's really resonated. So I just want to thank the staff, Chris and James and John, Michael Farmer, who else is here? Julie, Carol, for all of the work. I mean, it really is a team effort, and we really are nationally being recognized for leaning in. And I also want to say thank you so much to this board. That question came up today multiple times in our program. How do you get either the superintendent or how do you get the board on board? And I said that you have been with us every step of the way, from the time that we started talking about the metaverse It was an opportunity for us to be confused together and not understand what people were talking about in Norway. And so telling that story and where we are today is really a testament to the work that you have allowed us to do. And then my leadership, hiring the right people, being in relationship with our teachers and staff at a time where we were also right. So it's really a powerful story. So that's that. I want to wish our sports and clubs the best as we end the winter season. And actually, right this minute, our basketball players are all starting into playoffs. So we're wishing them, hopefully we'll go faster and we can actually second half. So excited about that. Throughout February, PSD will honor Black History Month with our events and lessons celebrating the achievements and contributions of our Black leaders. A special shout out to our amazing PSD school counselors as we recognize our National School Counseling Week this week. Boy, we could not do this without them. And they are leaning into this new tool and really embracing that at a time, it's like one more thing. And we're very appreciative. So thank you for their invaluable support that they always provide to their students every day, each and every day. Kindergarten registration for 25-26 opens on February 26th, and families can visit the PSD website. Can you believe that is, I know, it's so exciting. We're also excited to announce the launch of PSD's new AI hub at PSD401.ai. It is a dedicated resource for AI integration in education, and we should really probably show that at the next board. We do that? Looking back at this. And I know that you have big news, so I'm not going to steal that thunder, so I'll skip down there. But I do want to say that PSD continues to lead the way in education innovation, and we could not be more excited for what's ahead. Lastly, Patrick, you didn't know that you were going to do this, but could you just come up and talk a little bit about fields and upgrading fields and where we're at in a vague way, in a non-specific way? Share, but don't share.
Yeah, okay.
I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I think it's pertinent.
Yeah, we, so as you know, the last few days, our grounds department, 4 of them that we have, one's out for a few months with the medical thing, but they've been working on snow and stuff like that. But they have directive right now. They're working on middle school fields, in particular, Goodman and Kopachuk. They've done some work there already. Obviously, it's a little cold for seed, but as soon as it warms up a little bit, we'll get that in there. They're also working on the baseball fields at Peninsula and Gig Harbor High School, and they've already started that work. Again, as the weather warms up, we'll be able to bring in some more soil for the infields and clean up the lip lines on those a little bit as well. We're also working on another project that we've got a peel off to a contractor to help us with, and I'm going to kind of stop there.
Yep.
Yep. But
Okay.
we're looking at a couple.
More to come.
Couple different things.
More to come. All right, thank you for that.
All right, thanks.
And specifically, Patrick, thank your staff. The last couple days, when we do a 2-hour delay, it doesn't mean that your staff is not working, and all of the staff are not working and trying to get to school safely. I know that you send me all these little, it was 3:50 this morning. I'm just gonna say, I know, I'm sorry I text you at 4. Well, once I tell them, then the clock starts. But I know that salt and plows and all of that. So I just want to thank your staff, and I also want to just say to all of the staff and all of the families, thank you for being patient. Mother Nature isn't on a schedule, And we try to do the best that we can, but it's not a science. It is more of a wake up at 3:30, and that's when our bus drivers are out actually on the roads. I think that's important for people to know, that there's actual people out on the key calling our transportation person, and then I get the first call, and then everything starts. So when we can, we try to call it the night before. So like if it was tons of snow, but safety is our priority. So thank you very much. I know that
I will pass
we're
it
all a
along.
little
and-
sleep deprived right now.
Yeah, they're all geared up for tomorrow too, because we expect it to
I
be a little
know,
icy.
and
So
I'm being texted by lots of other districts who canceled today. So
We-
our neighbors to
I
the
think it
north
worked
all-
out well this morning. So
All right.
nice job to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And with that, thank you all. Yeah.
We got something else first.
Wait, hold on, Creston has something else first? No?
Oh, no, I have something to add to your announcement.
All right, then you guys go ahead.
Don't we have
We do,
the
actually.
ledge thing?
Hold on a second. We have got ledge rep update first. So we're gonna do something new during the session. We do have updates from David and Jennifer, our legislative reps. So we want to be able to give updates on what's going on down in Olympia and how it's impacting our district and how we're involved in that work. So we'll do that, and then we move on to board
Okay.
comments.
Good.
All right, thanks. Since you just got off a plane a couple hours ago, I'll keep it quick. We're in week 4 of our session, day 23. So just as for context, this is the biennium budget cycle every 2 years. This is a long session, 105 days. So the last day is April 27th. And one of the things, so this is my first year as a ledge rep, so bear with me as I kind of say things that might be very obvious to you, but I'm learning every day as we go. So anyway, in the biennium, in the long session, they must pass a budget. And as we have all heard, upwards on the low end of $6 to $7 billion shortfall, up on the high end and pushing 15 and up $1 billion shortfall. So needless to say, this is going to have huge impacts to education funding. And, despite education being the constitutional obligation to fully fund it, we know from multiple presentations that that's not necessarily the case. So back in December, before session started, there were literally hundreds of bills that were pre-filed. And then they all kind of hit at once, and sorting through all of those to find the ones that are really aligning with our big 3 that we voted on and adopted through WASDA, as well as how that Ashley presented on last night. The big 3 priorities being special education funding, materials, supplies, operating costs, MSOC funding, and then transportation funding. And none of that is to say the other stuff isn't important, but as was spoken about time and time again in our legislative conference, we really, by aligning with the Superintendent's Association and the Business Officers Association and really keeping a laser focus on those major pools of money, is the strategy is that will have the biggest impact on kids in classrooms. So anyway, what I've been doing is trying to stay current on these bills. And I'm leaning on WASDA for that. They have a tremendous advocacy and group. So they have a bill tracker that all of the bills that are impacting education, they give updates to those. So I'm subscribed to that. And then they also have a weekly in-session update, and they do that on Thursdays because Wednesday evening is when they publish the next week's calendar. So Thursdays, they do a quick Zoom. Last Thursday was really interesting. So Jim Kowalski, who leads the Rural Schools Network, who I think we met at the Ledge Conference, so he went over the big 3, and then particularly how that impacts those small rural districts, which, just as a side note, is really fascinating and interesting, how different it is and what a challenge it is, and why, to me, it reemphasized why that focus on the big 3 is important, because those have huge impacts on small schools, just as, smaller districts like us and the big ones. And then today was also the monthly Ledge Rep meeting, and so that's when the Ledge Reps from other districts get together, get an update, and then can just ask questions and kind of share what's been going on. So anyway, that's been really fascinating. And anybody can subscribe to this. So like anybody can go onto the WASDA website. And if you're interested in legislation impacting schools, you can sign up for their for their weekly updates and their bill watch. And I think all of us have probably referred several people to that. So it's a really, I think, helpful, thoughtful articulation. And they really are, when WASA advocates or when WASA makes a position, it is completely in line with what our legislative committee as a whole, as Peninsula School District and then WASDA, all of the school districts have adopted. So I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind. And they're not just going out and going rogue and deciding it's all aligned. So anyway, there's with special ed for the big three, the Senate has, there's a couple bills right now looking at special education. One, funding in general, which is kind of the big one. And then the other one that has gotten a lot of attention is extending services until students to the age of 22. And I bring that one up simply because it has a House companion bill, which increases the likelihood that it could go through. And that's also one that our special education parent group has said that they'd be interested in helping if the time comes to provide some testimony and support for, which would be awesome. And then, so there's a couple in the Senate, a couple in the House, but again, the 21st of February is the policy cutoff date. So that'll probably be the time to track specific bills a little bit more when things are either going to move forward or they die in committee. Same with MSOC. There's one kind of big one in the Senate that's been passed out to Ways and Means, so money. Same with House, there's a couple, and then same with transportation. Adequate and predictable transportation, that has a companion bill. The other one I want to point out kind of specifically that isn't a big three, but it pertains to our board, is because one of the things we did was we elevated the position of the Department of Commerce Clean Buildings Act about how that was going to unduly hit school districts that can't pass bonds and have old buildings and be financially untenable. So it's pretty exciting to see that the Senate sponsored and passed out of committee a bill that would allow schools and Patrick, did you know this? Schools and school district to give up to a 10-year extension for the standard deadlines for K-12 school buildings. So that's good news. It's not a done deal yet, but it's being reviewed by Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee. So that's one I'm just kind of particularly watching because I feel like that was something we all as a board were pretty well aware of. Oh, right. Yes. Thank you. That's correct. Yes, exactly. So not only was it something that we originated that and it got picked up by WASDA and now it is on their radar as something that is going to be supported and paid attention to by the entire state. So good job, everyone. That's a lot of money. Yep. Yeah. And anyway, other than that, I think we spoke last time that we had met with our legislators. We have 3 legislators that we're very fortunate to have such a close, good communication and working relationship with. They're very supportive of us, each one of them is. And hearing today, that there's ledge reps who aren't really, like they were asking for the list of who their representatives were. And it's kind of like, oh man. All right, well, we're in a good spot because we've had wonderful conversations. I know Creston and Ashley, you guys get tapped a lot for information and data. And testifying. So anyway, I think as like I said, after that 21st deadline, I think we can probably track a little more closely specific things because at this point it's a little too much and it's too early to tell what's going to move where. So that's it. That's all I have. Yeah, and whatever you have, David.
So I just got back, because she said I just got back from Washington, D.C. Chuck and I did. We were attending the National School Board Association Advocacy and Equity Institute Conference. And one of the things they talked about was nationally funding for public education. And Washington State is hardly the only state that doesn't have enough funding. And there were 2 U.S. senators that stopped in, and we're talking about how we could absolutely do better in our public education system. Whenever I say better, you probably know who that was. But we can do better. And, but, I mean, we get national money, but then most states rely on state funding and local levy money. And so it is definitely something that's a national trend that not enough school districts are. And we did have someone speak specifically, I don't remember who mentioned it, rural school districts are really hurting for getting them funding that they need to help get new facilities, new buildings, new curriculum and so forth. And that we need to do a better job at helping with those. And, you know, when our WASDA board president, Tricia was there as well, and I was talking to her about where we were on the big three, as we talked about. And, you know, we were hopeful we'll get good movement in all three, but she was pretty confident we won't get big movement in all three. But like Jennifer said, once things are sort of passed out, we'll get a bit better feeling on where we are on them. But it seems like from her, transportation is getting the lowest amount of traction in special ed. Fortunately, special ed is getting the highest amount of traction. So, and then I'll segue over to my partner in DC, Chuck, and we can talk about that next. Go ahead, the big news.
The big news.
Yeah.
Well,
Put on the gloves.
Microphone. Yeah.
I think I want to say first that I think David and I were just the figureheads. It's really the district, the staff that did all the work to earn this award. And with that, I think Chris should come forward to accept this award.
Well, tell us what it is first.
Well, I'm gonna do that once he's coming forward here. So, we were awarded through the National School Board Association.
What is going on with the glove?
Came with gloves.
You're not getting a exam, I promise you.
So we were the district of under 10,000 to receive this award.
10,000 students.
In the entire nation for innovation and technology.
And AI.
Yeah, AI. And it was really focused around the AI and what we do to teach it here. And Chris has led that charge by teaching our kids how to use AI, but also understanding it. And really the award was given for the broad way that we do it, from banning the cell phones to teaching about the problems of media. So they recognized us, and I was very proud to stand there and accept it. But I was the wrong one to be up there accepting it. We were just the figureheads. It was you guys. You, Carol should be up here too, representing the teachers.
We'll get a photo.
Because it's really all of you and Creston for her leadership that got us recognized nationally.
So
Figure out how these work.
With your bare
Oh, no,
So-
you just took its magic.
So before Creston adds some more,
See what it is.
one of the, we didn't know we were gonna have to give a speech, so we went to the rehearsal, and our calendars didn't update, so we went to the rehearsal at 3 hours earlier than it was supposed to be, so we got way earlier than we were supposed to, because we were still at West Coast time, and so we got up early, but, so they said you have to give a speech, so I didn't have anything with me to gin something up, so I text Chris and said, please put together my speech, make sure that it's from me
Yes.
recognizing you and your team and the district and Creston. So it wasn't like, I'm here to accept this award. It was
I was gonna
all
say,
about,
you probably used AI to.
He did.
100%. Because you said I had 3 minutes.
3 minutes. I need it
I need it in 3 minutes. I'm like,
I need a 3-minute speech. I need it in 45 minutes. And he used his tools to give me the speech, and he sent it to me, and I had him print it out.
Yeah.
But you know, there's over 13,000 school districts in the United States, and only 3 won this award, and we were one of them. So it's it was a big deal. People came up to us, it was quite the honor, quite the honor. Yeah.
Thank you for all the work you've done, and I'll give you my glove.
Oh, good.
The gloves have to take a picture.
Yeah, gotta take a picture.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay, you need to keep those gloves on.
Came with
But it does have a lot of fingerprints on it.
I
It
noticed
does,
that.
yeah. So they didn't use gloves when they handed it to us.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to go up here and get it?
Preston and Preston at the front.
Carol?
Come on. It's all right, I don't like being on the end.
What did you say?
I don't like being on the end.
That's okay, I got you.
This is Taylor shy.
No, you have to go here.
In my sweatpants.
Waist up. We'll do it from the waist.
Oh, yeah. You don't get to touch it without.
Okay. Who's gonna top that?
Who's going next?
All right. Chuck, do you have anything else for your comments, or are you gonna end on?
I'm going to end on that.
Okay.
It was an honor to be there,
Yeah.
to represent this district again. It always makes me very proud.
Outstanding.
There was probably 1,000 people from all the states, and so there was a lot of, not as much networking, I would say, as WASDA, because it's the state, and when we go every year, you start to know people. But, I mean, we knew Tricia and Danny, and there's probably, our Washington contingent was there, and they tracked how many states, who were the top states, like New Jersey, New York. We were number 6, so out of 50, we had the most people there, so that's pretty good. So,
Some of the
yeah.
farthest.
Would you like me to read into what
Sure.
the award was?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went on February 2nd, the Center for Digital Education, CDE, and the National School Board Association announced the winners of the 2025 Innovative Technology Integration Awards. For the large school district, it was Washoe County School District in Nevada. For the middle size, it was Henrico County Public Schools in Virginia. And for the small, it was Peninsula School District. These awards, which were announced before hundreds, 1,000, of school board members at NSBA's Advocacy and Equity Institute, Spotlight School Districts, and NSBA members leading the way in innovative technology practices. The winner for us was the winner for school districts up to 10,000 students was the Peninsula School District in Gig Harbor, Washington. Peninsula stood out for its vision for technology integration and underlying goal to prepare students for an AI-driven world while maintaining a strong focus on digital wellness and how to critically engage with technology responsibly. There were 2 other additional districts that were recognized as trailblazers as well. That was Compton Unified in California and Orange Public Schools in New Jersey. And just to read the statement from Brian Cohen, Vice President of Education at the Center for Digital Education, he stated, "These districts exemplify the standard for how technology can transform education, addressing the unique needs of their students while promoting innovation and equity across their systems. We are honored to recognize their achievements and highlight their dedication to advancing education through technology." And what I would say is that you cannot do that without a strong school board a committed community that is willing to be on the front edge, and wonderful, amazing educators, all the way from TK classrooms, all the way to our 12th grade and beyond, and the staff that are willing to do that and learn at a time that it is a time of disruption right now, and it is a time of unknown, and it's not really clear exactly what it's going to look like. And so being able to be in a school district and being able to lead as a superintendent, it is an honor and a privilege. And having the team to do that, it is really an honor and a privilege. I can put up with you guys all day long because our conversations are always centered around kids. So thank you.
Quick more, just a quick shout out to another group that's in DC right now, but I think we're going to get an update. So we have, for the state of Washington, 2 of our students and an educator who are back advocating for Special Olympics and for our unified programs. And it's just so inspiring that, to me, that's just kind of, the scope and breadth of our leadership from the students up to the teachers in all manner of things impacting public education. So from technology to Special Olympics and everything, it's really exciting. I won't spoil it because I think we are going to hear from them. But again, this is on the national stage, and they were selected for the state of Washington, which is fantastic. And on that note, I think several of us got to go to a unified game. I think their season is just wrapping up. And again, just can't say enough good things about that program. Those games are just amazing. Both schools now, Gig Harbor and Peninsula, plus the cheer team. It's just fantastic. And then really the big one, I think, which is a shocker, we wrapped up the end of the semester. So I know in our house that caused some angst because classes are harder now that you're getting older. And so grades may not be exactly what was expected. But I think, we're halfway through the school year, and, a lot has happened, and I'm just looking forward to a lot more as we start the second half of the school year. So thanks.
So I just sort of a little funny end of our 4-day trip to DC. We had the pleasure of Lori Glover, who was a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines, flew in last night because she worked the flight back today. So she got up really early with us as well because she worked the flight on the way back. So we got to go out to dinner last night. And we got notified on halfway across the country there was a medical emergency on the plane. And I'm thinking, wonderful. I wonder if they're going to reroute us to Detroit, and would we be able to have a meeting? But our very own EMT, Chuck West, got to help provide medical care to the person.
Person okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Chuck was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was waiting for assistance, and I said, you. you will do. Just
Chuck put on his white gloves and went to work.
I think just a quick comment. I feel like it's a total repeat of my comment at the last board meeting, but it's a great problem to have. Here we are again, just thinking back to the strategic planning and just the meetings that we had just a few short years ago, and just thinking about this award that we just got, and thank you for allowing us as a board to dream big and to just really go for it, even though at times I think we were kidding when we would say, like, we're going to be best in the world, or, and to say we want to be best in the nation at things and really go for that. Thanks for letting us to set those as goals, but thank you for, hiring the people, and really all of you and the staff who does just every single day, who sets incredible goals for each and every student in the PSD, really, no matter what it is, just little things, little steps toward big goals. And it's really, I'm really, really proud that, to see us win, best, when you see it all, I didn't really even sink in. I mean, I knew we got it, and then when I was looking at it.
Oh, Chris got another award.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, award. But it's like, best, we're one. That we got the only district that got that award for 10,000 students and less. So that's, I'm really proud of all the work that's happened in PSD. So, go team.
Well, the world, when we were all flying back, we did say there are some other events that we could go and present at, so don't be surprised. Well, where was it, Chris? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
London.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. This event actually had several breakout sessions, and I went into several of them. And I was kind of taken back when I went into some of them and listening to the presenters and go, oh. And I was out there and went, oh, we've already done that. And I just thought, again, we could be the presenters at that to take a lot of the
So you have a green
rest of
light,
the
I
nation
Yeah.
further on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
We were talking about applying for all these.
We said the word.
Okay, the world.
Okay.
Awesome. That's it.
Lori, I'm writing down notes of what I want to say. It was almost identical to what you said, so I won't repeat too much, but, I was just thinking about 4 short years ago, how we sat in that back room, and I can remember the exact quotes that we said and I remember, I think it was you who said, we want someone to know if a kid is missing and care that they're not there that day, and we want them to be courageous, and we want them to have grit, and we want them to learn, and we want them to feel confident, and that means literacy. We want our kids to read, we want them to be confident in math, all these things, and we built out that vision. And Creston, you and your team, I will try to overscore, whichever we land on, but you get up every day and you make dreams come true. And it's ours, but it's the kids, really, and it's what they want to do and what we want for them. It's so amazing. We're so incredibly proud. So I did have one question for Jennifer. I meant to ask during the ledge period, speaking of dreams come true and opportunities for kids, do you know if any of our legislators have page opportunities still available this session?
That was on my list to ask, and I did not.
Okay.
I
we'll
will
find out.
definitely find out and report back
Okay.
ASAP.
Yeah.
And we have our student rep day on the Hill as well. That's coming up in March, I believe.
March 19th, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
so we'll be planning that.
a meeting that we had hoped to finish by
That's
7
right.
so we could get to a basketball game, but I think it was all
Sorry.
good things, really, and it's just a time to celebrate with everyone here. So, yeah, go ahead.
Just as if that's helpful. Just because you did mention that I was the flight attendant today, a comment from just a personal example that I see every day toward Chris, but really everyone in the district. I just want to say that I'm really so proud of the fact that we are really working on teaching digital citizenship and how to use things appropriately and in healthy ways and whatnot. Because I would say in the course of my work, I see every single day both persons using digital technology to do incredible things. Like, I don't know if they're designing rockets on their, laptops. I do a lot of DC and Boston, so I'm like, what is that person working on? And then other persons just with absolutely no sense of how they're impacting the persons around them in their use of technology. And, so you see it all, and I really appreciate that we're trying to raise good, digital citizens, so.
And our kids are amazing every day. They're just doing great things. Okay, so with that, everyone, hopefully you're going to get in your car and head to a basketball game. Our next meeting is. Do you have something to add? No. Oh, okay, sorry. Next meeting is February 25th at 6 o'clock here at Swiftwater, and at 7:30, is that 3? 7:33, we're adjourned. Sorry, that's yours.